Welcome friends to another r/entitled parents video. As always, if you enjoy these videos, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And our first story of the day is by Dragon Crystal. Entitled parents don't want me checking my work schedule. Now I've got a no call, no show marked on my work attendance. I've been quarantining for 2 weeks. Ended last night because my last vaccination shot gave me severe side effects that seem COVID-like. Also because of that, my work schedule account was inactive until my quarantine is lifted. Not to mention, a relative just passed away and my parents, knowing that my quarantine lifted yesterday, still dragged me along with them, while not allowing me to check if I'm on the schedule or not. Now onto the story. Like I've mentioned above, that I was quarantining for 2 weeks and my work schedule account was inactive during that time, and I was unable to see if I was going to work today or not. I just heard about my relative passing away last night before going to bed. I believe my workplace account reactivated around 6 a.m. today, but I'm not entirely sure because my parents came bursting into my room, demanding that I go and help babysit the kids, my cousins, while they help set up for the funeral. Me in a drowsy state of mind say, "What?" Mom says, "Hurry up and get dressed, we have to go help out at our relative's funeral." I say, "Mom, you know how much funerals freak me out, right?" She says, "Stop making excuses and get up now." I say, "Fine. Wait, last night was when my quarantine lifted. My supervisor might have scheduled me to work to..." She cuts me off and says, "I said stop making excuses and get ready." The entire car ride there, they'd be peeking into the backseat and complaining at me to stop looking at my phone and pay attention to them, like I'm supposed to backseat drive or something. Not supposed to, I know. As soon as we arrive, I'm ushered into the kitchen by my mom, where my aunts were, along with their kids, my fellow cousins, while my dad walks into a separate room with my many uncles. My aunts have been cooking and mourning the death of my other grandpa, whom I rarely ever seen or knew. My mom immediately tells me to either help with cooking or just keep an eye on the kids, and since I'm so used to being the babysitter for any relatives' kids, I stick to babysitting. 7 a.m. rolls around and I wanted to check if I'm on the schedule to work or not. I pull my phone out and as I'm typing in my log, my mom steps over and screams at me to put my phone away or I'm going to get punished. I'm almost 30, not 18, so I just slip my phone away again. 8 a.m. rolls around, I sneak my phone out again. This time my dad snatches my phone out of my hand and threatens to smash it because I'm spending too much time playing video games and don't deserve to have a phone, before handing it over to my mom, who happily slips it into her purse. Great. 9:15 a.m. is rolling around. Now is usually the time my shift starts. I'm just constantly checking the kitchen stove clock, and I'm freaking out thinking about how I'm going to explain this to my supervisor if he calls my phone and I don't pick up. I go over to my mom and asked her for my phone back. Her smug response was, "Why do you need it?" I say, "Because I might have been scheduled to work today and my quarantine was lifted yesterday." She says, "I'm sure they don't need you today. It's Saturday, and we're busy here. Your dad and I don't have time to take you back home. We were literally just sitting around cooking and chatting. Oh, so busy." I say, "Can I at least check if I'm on the schedule or not so I can call out? Because we're usually the busiest on the weekends." She says, "No, stop wasting my time and go babysit your cousins or help cook." I'm livid and just go back to babysitting while dreading the call from my supervisor. Sure enough, a couple hours later, 3 p.m., my mom finally hands me my phone saying, "Oh, someone called Tim called you at 9:36 a.m. Dread fills my already shaken up heart, and I say, "I told you that I might be scheduled to work today." She says, "Well, I didn't know that." "How the freak would you know? You don't work there. You should have checked before coming here." Me, boiling with anger, says, "Maybe if you listened to me and let me check before forcing me into the car, this wouldn't have happened. Now I've got a no call, no show marked on my attendance." She says, "Stop being so dramatic. It's not like you're late to work all the time. That's why you were fired from your other jobs." Bull freaking poop. I, more angry now, say, "I was laid off at one job and that was my first job for BS reasons. Every other job I quit for my own personal reasons, and Regalia Cinema was because we got bought out, so everyone and myself lost our job because of that." She says, "Well, you still got fired," before heading back to the kitchen. I say, Well, forget you too, jerk. My dad heard us arguing and comes out to start complaining at me about being respectful, not being an ungrateful brat, etc., before heading back into the other room. I'm just sitting in the hallway private messaging Tim about my current situation, and his only response is, "We'll talk about it during your next shift," which has yet to be posted. I don't know what's going on in this dynamic here, but OP says they're almost 30. The fact that they're almost 30 and their parents have that much control over not only what they're doing, but how they act when they can and can't use their own phone, and downplaying the importance of being able to notify if you can or can't show up to work, or if you're even working at all. Do you guys agree that in this story there's actually more questions than answers about anything? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Our next story is by Frostwolf65, entitled Mother Shouts at Me for Not Delivering Candy to Her Child's House and Gets Me Fired. Okay, so I, 17-year-old male, have a summer job working as a football coach for kids, 10 to 11-year-olds. It's basically 2 weeks long, and we just teach them the basics like passing and shooting, etc. Anyways, it ended on Thursday, so we had a fun little ceremony. Now, all the kids received diplomas, just as a memoir basically, at around 9 a.m. when the ceremony started, and they received candy at around 3 p.m. when it ended. One of the kids was sick, so his mom showed up to pick up his diploma in the morning. I gave her the diploma, and she asked if they would receive anything else. I said no, because I had no clue that the kids would get candy 6 hours later. Apparently, her kid found out that the others got candy and was furious. After all the kids left, entitled Mother shows up and goes on a rant at me, claiming that I'm a bully and that she would sue me. When I asked why, she explained that it was because her kid didn't get candy. I told her that I had no clue they would get candy, but she wouldn't listen and claimed that I should have saved a bag for him, found out his address, and gone to his house to drop it off. She goes to complain to my boss, and after an hour, he tells me that he has to fire me. I didn't really care, since I only have 1 day left, but the whole situation was just so ridiculous. So you're telling me that this entitled mother was actually advocating for some teenager to find the address for their 10-year-old kid's home, show up relatively unannounced to give them candy? Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Nothing wrong with that line of thinking. There's also a comment by Magic Unicorn Handler that I love that says, "Coach, why is assistant not here anymore?" "Because he didn't give Billy a candy bar." Yeah, let's teach children that. That sounds like a good life lesson. Our next story is by a weird dweeb, entitled Mother Doesn't Want Me Shopping in the Boys section of the store. This story happened a few days ago, and I still can't believe it happened. My friend suggested I tell Reddit because I might get a bit of fame, so here it goes. Cast me, aka OP, a 14-year-old female who has mostly boy interests. Entitled Mother, a woman who was clothes shopping for her son and happened to run into me. Birther, my mom. For context, I, 14-year-old female, have been a tomboy since I was 9. I'm a weird tomboy, you could say. I hate dresses, but I'm fine with skirts, and I never wear nice pants, only leggings or sweatpants. Hair and makeup isn't something I avoid doing, but it's not something I do daily. However, when the time comes to get fancy for a date, usually with friends because I'm not getting a boyfriend or girlfriend anytime soon with my weirdness, I can get pretty excited and turn into a girly girl. My interests are where I'm mostly categorized as a tomboy. Pokemon, Danganronpa, Minecraft, lots of gory and bloody animes, and just other boy interests. I should also mention I have no desire to be a boy whatsoever. I'm fine with being a girl. However, when I go clothes shopping, I always make a beeline for the men's section. Girls and boys don't fit me, and women's juniors isn't my style, so I find most of my clothes in men's. On to the story. I'm in Walmart with my mom and she gives me the okay to go walk around the store while she grocery shops, as long as I have my phone notifications turned on, so she can call or text me when she's ready to leave. I have my headphones in and my purse slung over my body. I'm listening to my music and looking at the graphic tees with band logos, anime characters, and video games on them. In walks our entitled mother. Entitled Mother's looking around for shirts and mentions something about not knowing what size her son was. I'm minding my own business. Entitled Mother wasn't really paying attention to me until she saw me holding up shirts to my own body, making it clear I was shopping for myself, and not a male friend or relative. She walks over with her buggy in shock. "Excuse me, miss," she put emphasis on any female term. "You know that this is the men's section, right? The women's section is over there." She then points in the opposite direction. I say, "I know, I just don't like shopping there because it's not my style." She says, "Oh, so you're shopping for yourself. You're a girl, so you need to wear girls' clothes." She's getting closer and grabs the shirt I was holding and puts it back down on the rack. I just stare at her, dumbfounded at her audacity. She then gestures for me to leave. I pick the shirt back up and tuck it under my arm and walk to the other side of the display, still looking. "Miss, you need to buy girls' clothes. You're a pretty girl, and you won't get a boyfriend dressing like that." She points to my baggy shorts that fall midway on my thigh and my My Hero Academia shirt that has Deku on it. I'm visibly annoyed at this point. "Lady, you aren't my mom, so stop. Even if you were my mom, I wouldn't let you dictate my clothes. I've been dressing like this since I was 9. Leave me alone." She mutters, "I would never let my daughter dress like an F word." I have to restrain myself from beating the poop out of her as I'm bisexual and my dress habits have nothing to do with it. I let her walk away and I put down the shirt I was holding, I changed my mind on it, and walk over to look at video games. I ended up getting nail polish, a Tumra plushie, and some polymer clay. I always knew Karens like this were around, but I never thought I would run into one. This story doesn't have a slam dunk ending, as I just walked away and continued shopping. However, my friends got a good laugh out of the story. Honestly, just the fact alone that OP stood there and was like, "Lady, I don't give a care who you are. You're not telling me how to dress." That alone made that a great story because you love to hear people just put these people in their place. Somebody just walking forward and saying, "This is how I dress, this is how I want to dress, go shove it," is great. And our final story of the day is by Edgelord Aramusha. Entitled Mother flags me down at my apartment complex for trespassing. My girlfriend and I recently moved into a new apartment in one of the better neighborhoods in my country. We have an abandoned house out back owned by the landlord's brother, and the house has a dock that the tenants of my apartment complex are able to use whenever. So we've had a couple of run-ins with random people at this point. My friends, Black, have been waiting in their car for me and have been approached by this one entitled mother, asking them what they're doing here and how this is private property, and if they don't move, she's going to call the police. For context, she doesn't live in this area and it's private property, but more on that later. I walk outside while they're talking and call them into my apartment without ever acknowledging the entitled mother's existence. Nothing else came of that, but just to preface the next bit, I felt that first encounter was important. That happened a few months ago, and today, just 20 minutes ago now, I run into this woman again. I had a rundown car that we just got rid of, so I have a new one that people in the area won't recognize as mine yet. So I drive home and see entitled mother and her 2 kids. I like to go down to the dock from time to time to relax and smoke, so I park my car in my spot and walk towards the dock. Entitled mother sees me and meets me halfway. "Excuse me? What are you doing here? Don't you know this is private property? You can't be here." I say I live here and the apartment's right behind me. She says, "No, you don't. I know everyone who lives there." I say, "Okay, well, I moved in 6 months ago now and I know for a fact you don't live here, so may I ask what you're doing here?" She tells me how she knows the owner and she has a right to be there, and again assures me that she knows I don't live here. So I just say, "Okay, whatever you say," and walk back to my place. She follows me, and as I walk up my steps, "Excuse me, why are you not getting in your car? Should I call the police?" I ignore her and go to open my back door. Forgetting I had locked the deadbolt, I say, "Crap, I forgot," to myself, and she cuts me off from walking around the front. "I just witnessed you trying to break into a house. I'm calling the police." At this point, I'm annoyed because I just want to go smoke and relax. I tell her to knock herself out. She calls, and me being the annoyed petty person I am, I stand there the whole time and wait patiently for them to arrive. They show up and ask what's wrong. She explains how I came to a private property and tried to use her dock and then tried to break into someone's home. I tell the one that's talking to me to follow me around to the front so I can unlock the door to show her that I live here. As we walk, I hear the entitled mother shouting about me being a thief and why haven't I been handcuffed already. We walk around to the front and I unlock the door. It's a straight walk from my front to back door, so I walk through and show the officer I do in fact live here. I open the deadbolt and slowly open the door with the biggest grin on my face as the entitled mother just stares and goes red. She shouts at the officer that I must have done something to get in. The officer laughs her off and talks to his partner. After a few minutes, they tell her to go back to what she was doing, as I obviously should be here. I point out in this moment that entitled mother doesn't live here, and the only places besides my complex are abandoned, and I know who the owner is. Her and the officers walk back to her car by the dock steps about 50 feet away. I can't hear anything obviously, so bummer there. After about 10 minutes, the cops leave, and a few minutes after that, I hear a car speeding down the road and a loud, "Freak you!" as it goes past. Sorry if it's not a great ending as I don't know what the cops talked about, but if it happens again, people who don't live here go to the dock all the time, I'll be sure to update. I just don't know if there's anything more annoying than a situation where you're so blatantly correct, but still somehow people believe that you're wrong or you're lying. You get home from work, you're tired, you want to have a smoke break, you want to relax, you just want to go back to your home and unlock the door and walk in and sit down and relax. And you have this entitled lady just being like, "You thief, you liar, I'm calling the cops, you're breaking and entering, you shouldn't be here." It's like, oh my gosh, chill out, Chihuahua. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel, and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.